Good morning, good morning, good morning, one and all. Hope you're having a very, very fine morning. Sorry for the late start. I was washing my hair. But yes. There we go. Better. Well, as we said last week, not unsurprisingly, morning to you. English Viking, good morning to you. As we said last week, it was absolutely cracking weather. Pretty Bird, greetings to you. It was absolutely cracking weather last week. You know, I barely even needed my jumper. And yet, as I said today, we're now back in full, essentially full winter gear. And for some reason, I don't know why, I don't know if you can see it in the background. Cathode G, good morning to you. I don't know if you can see it in the background. There you go. There you go. There's a train stuck. I don't know why. There must be trouble along the line somewhere, or it's broken down. That's very, very unusual to see a train stuck there. But yes, it is a good morning as always. The sun is out. It's unfortunately not very warm. We are at -0. I've got my wellies on just in case. I was thinking maybe we needed to go to we could get away with my walking boots, but no, it is still very, very much muddy out along here, but as always we shall survive and thrive. You may need ice cleats. Is it opposed to as opposed to what, +0? Chthonic, good morning to you. But yeah, don't know if you can. Oh no, there it is. I don't know if you can see it. Yes, there it is. But yeah, don't know why it's stuck there. It's very odd to see. Very, very odd to see a train stuck there. There must be problems down the line or somewhere where it's going. But yes, it may look sunny, but it is not warm. It is really, really cold. Really, really cold out there today. But yes, as always, we've got an absolutely cracking morning for you. As always, so good way to kickstart your weekend. Out in the fields. A nice walk among the wilds. What's that? Morning. Morning. Waiting for the meteor to hit. Just see some good news. Well, today we're going to talk mostly about well, I think to begin with, it starts, as always, there we go, with what we're going to be talking about, but a bit of a background information. If you've been following our, shall we say, our George Galloway, sounds like it's getting underway. Yep, there it goes. Yep, there it goes. Finally getting underway. So that's off towards Barnsley Station. There must have been a problem somewhere along the line. But yes, if you've been following our George Galloway arc, if we can call it that, you will notice... where's your llama hat you promised to wear? Oh yeah, that's true. I haven't worn my llama hat. Oh, completely forgotten about that. I'll wear it next time, I promise. But if you've been following that arc... Oh, Paz News, good morning to you. So if you've been following us with that, you will notice that there has been a steady stream of the same talking points over and over. First of all, massively and very suspiciously agreeing with essentially the Russian narrative that, you know, Ukraine needs, you know, denazifying, they're somehow quote unquote punishing Russian speakers, all this nonsense that there's been a genocide in the Donbass and there's these supposed mass graves that again they haven't found, but to, you know, the new stuff of, oh, all these attacks on the civilian centres, that's not the Russians doing it. That's just, well, that's just somehow it's the Ukrainians cynically bombing themselves. Again, all this stuff from the Russian narrative is absolutely bonkers, because the continuing theme to basically just disprove all these narratives is, you know, look with your own eyes. You know, the evidence is there for us all to see, you know, what's going on. And in fact, just recently, I think it was yesterday, in fact, now Ukraine at this moment in time hasn't claimed responsibility, nor has it denied the fact that it has done it, but it seems to me that they struck out at a, or it may have been a false flag, we don't know. We really don't know, because like I said, they haven't claimed responsibility for it, they haven't not claimed responsibility for it, but again, it's just, should we say, highly suspicious that if this is a false flag attack, there just happened to be, you know, cameras around to capture it all. So again, make of this, of course, what you will, as I always say when we've been following this. You know, be careful. You know, report but don't until verified, as you know, truth comes in. But if it was Ukraine that did it, then it is really sort of the first attack into Russia that they have performed. And this was with, again, 2 helicopters, and they attacked a fuel site. Now, if they did do it, good on them, because that fuel site, again, was a staging area for many of the forces. Most of that fuel was, again, going to the invading forces that are against them. And, well, it's a legitimate war target at that point, needless to say. But of course, I think this will, whether we will see more like continued such attacks, I don't know. But I think it just once again goes to show you that if two helicopters can fly 25 miles behind enemy lines and, you know, attack what is a strategically important, you know, refueling station, as we've been saying throughout all of this, what's going on with like the Russian army? What on earth is going on? I can't, you know, I can't explain it. Even other observers who, you know, have followed this for years have said, we can't, you know, all our predictions were wrong. We thought, you know, at least Russia was, you know, somewhat competent, or at least should have been somewhat competent when it came to all this. Apparently not. But of course, this also comes on to a flip side of, well, what if it was sort of Russia attacking itself, you know, under a false flag? And that would be, well, perfectly normal for Russia to do, because then Russia could then use this as its excuse to say, escalate the war. We've already seen that Putin has called for an extra 100,000 conscripts that, again, he says are, quote, not heading, of course, to Ukraine. But of course, that's where the first lot of troops weren't heading for. So, you know, everything that seems to come out of Russia, you can pretty much always say that is probably a lie, or it is probably like the half truth. You know? So, either way, if it was Ukraine, then they've probably taken out quite a tactical, carried out quite a tactical strike. Again, taking out the fuel station that Putin and his forces desperately need. And of course, if it was a false flag, unfortunately expecting a level of escalation. But needless to say, I don't think Putin's, shall we say, very pleased about this at all. Oh. So I don't know if you, oh no, you can't see the scene. Oh. Anyway, come on, let's go. Oh, I think that's 2 labs. David, hello to everyone. Oh. But yeah, needless to say, of course, it does look like we're entering into what very much a stalemate period in Ukraine, and even then, stalemate is victory for Ukraine, because Russia can't continue. There's unconfirmed reports that the losses might be even in the tens of thousands. So this is not gone well at all for Putin. That's why you can see that rather than shall we say, their dash for Kiev, they now seem to be, well, pulling back to, quote, focus on the Donbass region. And either way, it just has gone to show and be a very embarrassing military disaster for Ukraine. So, well, not Ukraine, for Russia, shall we say, in this phase of the war. So, like I say, we'll have to see how, obviously, the East sort of carries out, but we'll definitely have to see what happens. Obviously, in the coming weeks and months, again, however long this lasts. But of course, you know, going back to Galloway, again, one of the big continuing talking points that he and others that use around this is probably and ultimately you know, oh, what about, you know, NATO in Yugoslavia? Oh, good morning, Mitch. Good morning to you. Because the now, I hadn't touched this before, but that is because when I've been especially looking up this week, because ultimately this is what a lot of these people bring up. They always bring up, obviously, NATO's actions in Yugoslavia. They go, oh, what about when, you know, quote unquote, NATO acted aggressively and, you know, had a bombing campaign in Yugoslavia. And the thing is, Yugoslavia is really complicated. It is really complicated. I am not going to lie. Really complicated. There are splits along, you know, nationality lines, religious lines, ethnic lines. It's, look, Yugoslavia and the fall of Yugoslavia, complete mess. Absolutely complete mess. So it is really, really not easy. And I think it's really disingenuous to just go in and say there that NATO's bombing campaign was bad. Because, yes, they did kill some, you know, innocent civilians in their bombing campaign. You know, let's get that off the table. But why were they doing that? You know, why were they, you know, engaged in that campaign? Well, ultimately, it was, as we now know, to stop, like, you know, the mass genocides that were happening, the rapes, you name it. There's a long list of war crimes that were carried out over there. So ultimately, and I think this is probably going to be the answer. Oh, we're back. There we go. So yeah, I make no claims that, you know, Yugoslavia was, you know, and simple. It was far from it. Far from it. And again, I encourage you to sort of on you know, read upon the thing. But it comes to talking about Ukraine is that then they will point to, well, what about kill innocent civilians? I think my answer to that question is basically well, it's ultimately, even though NATO did engage in a bombing campaign, ultimately, they killed, well, NATO and its bombing campaign killed far less and even stopped potential genocides happening in those states, compared to the bombing campaign. And to be honest, I think that's the answer we have to take going forward from that. So, and why am I, you might ask, why am I preparing stuff like that? Why am I looking into this stuff? Because I think it's almost time. I think we're ready. I think that we are going to have a call in to Mr. Galloway, have a chat. So what I'm again trying to do is I'm trying to be like the most prepared I possibly can be, and trying to come up with as many answers to any questions that he might pose, and ultimately that will be one of them. So that's really ultimately the situation about this. Oh. Pedro the Wise, you don't have a clue, stop filling heads with your crap. Okay, what crap, Pedro? Please do enlighten us. Anyway, we've got ponies. Why do people always do this? They always complain at you and then they never come back. So I'm just sat waiting now. I say I've got a full field of them this morning. Yeah, how to lose respect without even trying, the George Galloway stories. That's true. And we've talked about Galloway before multiple times on the Wednesday live stream. And to be honest, I think we'll be going over many more times. But yes, this is still my sort of leftover COVID cough. Like I say, if I can shift this, I'll be very happy. But like I say, I'm testing negative, so I'm over it. But I've just got an annoying cough now. Always the case. Can you see him? I can't tell. I know I've got my arm on the way. There we go. But yeah, we're meant to be having snow flurries today as well. So I was expecting a I was expecting a flurry of snow, but no, apparently not. Snow in the Scottish borders. Well, if it's going to snow anywhere, it'll be there. Always going to snow there. But the other thing was today that's also probably happening as well, which again, if there's one happening near you, I would encourage you to get out there if you can. There are protests, of course, happening over the cost of living crisis. So I would definitely encourage you. We'll go this way today. That looks a bit slippy. There we go. So if you can get to one of those protests, definitely encourage it, because I have a friend who works for a debt relief charity in Leeds, and honestly, I've talked to him about some of the phone calls he has are really heartbreaking, like really heartbreaking. Oop. Oh my god, we've got a new pony. New pony. Let's go this way. Oh yeah, it's definitely new. You can tell. Oh. It's hiding a bit. We'll try and get a good angle on him for you. There he is. Can you see him? I don't think you can. Oh no, where is he? There he is. There he is. He's a bit shy. He's a bit shy. But yes, it is that time of year again where we will probably start seeing new ponies in the wild, in the wind. So let's see if we can't get over this. Here we go. Oh. We've gone a bit of the marshland. Hang on, let's get into something a bit harder. There we go. Better. Not squelching as much there. So yeah, ultimately one of the bizarre. Oh yeah, there's actually another. I actually had another bizarre 6 degrees of separation scenario happen with my family. Oddly enough, turns out my uncle, who used to do HR down south for Eurotunnel, was actually put up for. Was actually headhunted for the position of HR director for P&O Ferries. And he turned it down. I can't remember what he said now. I think he said he turned it down because he wasn't, should we say, happy with a lot of the stuff that went on in the company. He said, he didn't touch it with a barge pole at the time, and he said he's glad he did, because he could have, or else there's a chance of he would have been having a lot of problems. He'd been having a lot of problems at the moment with with what's going on, with the antics around there. So yeah. Morning. But yeah, bizarre 6 degrees of separation. So yeah, again, kind of bizarre. Kind of bizarre. Very, very bizarre to see. So almost certainly a bizarre situation where your uncle comes up to you and goes, yeah, I was almost HR director for P&O Ferries. Very bizarre indeed. But yes, obviously onto sort of more harsher stuff. Like I said, my friend's got a job with a debt relief charity, and he is obviously on call with a lot of people who are, again, trying to seek, debt relief, and they give them, advise them as best they can on their situations. And they've been having a lot of calls very, very recently within the past, especially the past week or so. Not to mention, again, with the, like I say, cost of living crisis, inflation, rising energy prices being the big one. That's what a lot of the protests are around about today. And he's had people on the phone. A woman who he's being, like the handler of, say to him across the phone, I've literally just gotten out of debt, and I'm looking at my new costs for my, energy, and unless I can come up with, an extra couple of £100 of income out of nowhere, I'm going to be back in debt. And that is apparently the overwhelming call that they've had. That's the number of calls. People have been like, look, I'm in debt, or I've just got out of debt. And, this energy crisis, my energy bills are going to cause me to go back into debt. And of course, I don't know if you've seen the report about hundreds of millions of more people and thousands more children going to go essentially backsliding into poverty because of this. And it's really hard to say, what can we do about it? But ultimately, this is something that the government's had to do for. David Joe, Bell Hatman, I checked the UK government website the other day. The government has put a new visa standard in for tourists. It costs about £95. It was not going to be free. Pretty Patel, yeah. Doesn't surprise me. It's one of these things of, the only people that can actually help is the government. They're the only people that can actually step in and actually offer some help. I'm going to do a video later on today about a group of economists who have actually gotten together, and they did a presentation basically about Rishi Sunak basically saying, look, because Sunak hasn't helped the most poorest in society, it's going to end up, with the government having to spend thousands of pounds more. Walking and talking might be a bridge too far. Well, it's fine as long as you've got a good walking path, really. But there we go. So yeah, ultimately, this whole energy crisis is really not going to be good. it's really not going to be good. And we're going to be probably hearing so many stories, you know, of people just backsliding into debt, or, you know, turning off their, you know, losing all their heating and having to choose between, you know, heating and food. The only thing we can really do at this moment in time is really hope that we have at least we have a very warm spring and summer. That's generally the only way we can you know, hope to get out of this crisis, unfortunately. And even then, if we go into, you know, into winter, into, you know, September, October, where normally, you know, the temperatures start plummeting around that time, over here, you know, the energy crisis isn't going to be solved by then, and that's going to cause even more problems. There's going to be oh, thank you very much, Veet Crew. Thank you very much for the support there. Have a good day, everyone. I need to go now, so see you later. But yeah, this isn't going to be good. I keep on saying it's, you know, it's not going to be good, but I don't know. I don't, to be honest, know how to describe it. Oh, morning, Political X. Good morning to you. We are walking in the woods. If I miss anyone's questions, I'm just trying to negotiate this path. It's quite muddy. Oop. There we go. Oop. Like I say, I've got my wellies on. I've got my full winter kit on compared to, you know, as we said last week, it was we're going to be like this or not. I mean, ooh, squelch, ooh, squelch, ooh, oh dear. Can we get through here? I don't know. But we can try. And certainly try. Sink. Thank God for someone putting that plank of wood there. There we go. Yeah, you are right. I've just seen someone's comment there. Yeah, cost of living crisis is a political choice. Yeah. Oh, damn. His cough. Yes, you are right. There really is no will, you know, political will to solve this. And we've said this before. The Tories don't care. You know, there's one thing the Tories have in abundance is that they just don't care. So the big thing is to again try and put pressure on them, and especially try to put pressure on, you know, Rishi Sunak to do something. And I think we've got a bit of a traffic jam up ahead. Yep, looks like it. Yep, we've got some cows. Oh, Kuthonic, thank you very much there. I just missed your super chat. Oh dear. Yep. We have cows on the path this morning. Oh, let's see if we can't get through. Oh, this might be quite interesting. Let's see how this goes. Come on now, boys. Let's move along. Come along now. Move along. Ugh. This is the problem where the big one doesn't move. You're like, morning. Yeah, move along. Come on now, boys, move along. Brexit now. I have to look for a good opportunity to try and pass them. Oh, I suppose I could. No, I don't know. Could maybe try and go around them. I don't know. That's it. That's it. Come on now. Just keep on walking. That's it. I think I got quite lucky that they're in a mood to walk. I think that's the good thing. Oh. No, now they've stopped. Now they've stopped. Come on, guys. Come on. That's it. Come on. Come on. Move along, boys. Move along. Oh. Please don't start a fight there. That's it. Yes, thank you very much, boys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oof. We're free and clear. We are free and we are clear. So that was the traffic jam. Just push them aside. I would, but I don't know how they'd react. That's the problem. I mean, that's the big problem. You don't know how they're going to react, and obviously they're a lot bigger than me. So it's not the question of me pushing them. It's probably they're going to push me. Just think of them as large stakes. Very true. Very true. Oh, but yes, going back to what we were talking about earlier, about Galloway. I think that, you know, I'm getting there now. I think I've got a bit more knowledge, and like I say, reading upon sort of the Yugoslavia angle, because that's very often one of the trump cards Galloway pulls is, what about Yugoslavia? And it's like you've got to have a lot of like, you've got to be prepared essentially for the answers. But ultimately, what it is going to be a conversation, I think, with Galloway. He's going to engage in a lot of whataboutism. So he'll go, what about Iraq? What about Afghanistan? You know, what about Yugoslavia? And that's the big challenge, I think. You know, because there's only really two ways I can go. I can either say, yes, I'll concede on those points just to get him back on, you know, talking about Ukraine, because that's obviously the main topic, and I think it's worth pointing out to his audience when we are having those, we have that discussion, that he's trying to pull the topic off track to essentially talk about something that he feels a bit more comfortable talking about, or at least, you know, knows he's, should we say, more comfortable talking about. So that's the big thing, really, ultimately. You know, of course, when we're talking about it. So but it does involve a lot of, like I say, reading up on, you know, different subjects, and again, things that have nothing to do with Ukraine, just so that I'm prepared in case he does pull out one of these, you know, what about, he's one of these whataboutisms that he pulls out. The other thing is how do we obviously tackle the conversation? Do we go in hard straight away? Do we, you know, do we start soft and go hard? Yes. Innuendos. Because ultimately I would like to have an actual conversation with him about what's going on, because I think that if you can draw him out into a conversation, he will start to contradict himself. And I think essentially my tactic is to try and give him as much rope as possible to try and hang himself with. This is why we've been covering like a lot of his guests that he's had on. Again, like, you know, Coach Red Pill, we did last week, which was again laughable to say the least. So yeah, it's difficult to think. You know, it's difficult to think of how we've got to challenge Galloway, because ultimately at the end of the day we're going on his show and he's going to have control, of course, over, well, my volume, and ultimately if he wants to, he can you know, just shout over me and just shout me down. So one thing I'm definitely going to be watching today, or at least looking online for today, is whenever Galloway has had conversations with people who disagree with him, because I want to look up like his tells, his tactics, and what he does to you know, to people he disagrees with, so at least we're prepared to if he starts pulling out some of those similar tactics, we can have a look at how we can maybe get around that and fight back against those tactics. This is what we call debate prep. But of course, this isn't going to be a debate, and even then, you know, Galloway will probably pull out his ultimate card, where he will probably just go and say, "Oh, you know, I condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine," and that is the ultimate card, and how we get around that, because ultimately Galloway will always say he isn't supporting this invasion, and ultimately, how do we get around that? Now, my theory and idea is if he says that, is to go, well, okay, you say you don't support the Russian invasion of Ukraine, but you've advocated for the Ukrainians to surrender and essentially roll over to Russia. So you say that you're not advocating for war, but because of that statement you've made about wanting essentially Ukraine to roll over Russia, I can only conclude that you are pro-Russian invasion. So ultimately, that's the tactic I'm going to take with on that, if that comes up. But I've just got to look at other stuff that I can say he's done in the past and really go over a lot of his statements he's made about Ukraine, so that I've got his words to fire back at him. That's going to be at least the key big point, I think, about this. And especially if we can go back, because I'm almost sure Galloway was one of the people who was going, "Oh, Russia's never going to invade Ukraine." All this intelligence that, you know, Russia's going to invade, that's just warmongering. So we've really got to look up not only, again, his thoughts now, but also what his thoughts were, again, the past couple of, you know, before this all started and kicked off. So it's challenging because, like I say, it's his show I'm calling into, and thus he has control. So I know that I can't dither, shall we say, because ultimately at the end of the day, I've seen, one comment of one video of someone disagreeing with Galloway, and basically he just turns into a shouting machine and just starts shouting them down. So one of the things that I certainly need to do is, if he starts to do that, then I need to draw his audience's attention to he's not letting me speak. That he's trying to, not letting me finish my sentences, or let me finish my thoughts, or let me finish my points, and really sort of try and hammer it home to his audience what he's doing. So, but then of course I am hoping that it sort of keeps a very civil undertone. So ultimately that's the plan, and I've been preparing for it. Galloway sold his for sale to the highest bidder. Galloway works for like Farage is a mercenary. Very true. And I think that's at the end of the day really the big key takeaway. Just to prepare and watch out for his like rhetorical tricks that he uses, because ultimately he's going to be, I think, doing a lot of whataboutism. I think the second you bring up stuff like Mariupol, he will probably say, oh, well, what about, the civilian bombings in Iraq? And it will be very, very interesting, actually, to try and find out like a timeline of the civilian death toll, to find out, well, if we compare this to the, invasion of Iraq, we can at least estimate this many, civilians died. But in this period of time, X amount of, Ukrainian civilians have died. And basically really point out his like whataboutism, and like try to shut those down as quickly as possible to pull him back onto the topic of Ukraine. So that's the big, I think, key takeaway that I'm slowly starting to, when I've sort of seen his conversations, is always, he doesn't really want to talk about Ukraine. And he doesn't really want to be challenged on Ukraine, because honestly, when you look at, a lot of the stuff that, that guy we were covering, just last Wednesday, the Coach Red Pill guy, all of that could be very, very easily disproved, or he was making claims that he really wasn't actually providing any substantial evidence for. So it is just keeping up that that level of pressure. And like I say, it takes a lot of preparation to know about some of this stuff. And like I say, the Yugoslavia stuff is the Yugoslavia stuff is very, very complicated, to say the least. I'm just trying to sort it into like a good soundbite, or at least a good argument where I can sort of shut him down on that front if he does pull that card. But as always, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for joining us on the Good Morning Walk. Like I say, we've had a fun time as always. So we've got a, where is he? There he is. We've got a doggo joining us. But yes, as always, thank you very much for joining us again on the Good Morning Walk. Like I say, don't forget to hit the like button and share button on your way out. Like I say, down below there are my links to my Patreon page. One off station called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. Morning. So, as always, we'll hopefully see you next Saturday. I think, not 100% sure. I'll have to let you know. But otherwise, we will have a Wednesday live stream. And of course, as always, thank you very much for joining us this lovely yet cold morning here in Yorkshire. As always, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you all next time.